Better. All right. This is Chris with Chris's Comments, coming to you Monday, June 7th. Today is, as y'all know, this is the common sense on common ground, no matter what the subject. Now, today's subject doesn't have much to do with the nation as much as it does with Texas. However, it's important to share what we, the ordinary people, see, because of the simple fact that it concerns a very serious matter concerning abuse of authority and legalizing it. And what I mean is, what the subject at hand is, Greg Abbott issues disaster declaration. Okay. Greg Abbott has made a declaration concerning the immigrants and the statuses that we have right now with them at the border. Now, what I'm going to do here, and it's going to be in parts, but it'll be okay. It'll be better this way. For anybody that wants to look up the actual declaration and review it, you're going to read a lot of, political talk. But with this show, it's going to be dumbed down for a lot of people that really don't like to pay attention to this. and it's stuff that people like you and me can actually share with the rest of the world here, because of this way of translating it to us little people. Again, I have no political voice. I have no religious voice. I am just a worker. And I'm doing this on my spare time. So as I do this, I'm going to be making special notes, and there's going to be a few references to some of the videos that I've previously made, concerning the migrants, concerning the functionalities of these agencies and how they're working and how they're either corrupt or not corrupt, or just have done some bad things along the way. So with that, here we go with the So with that, here we go with the declaration. Paragraph 1. Securing the border is the federal government's responsibility, but the state of Texas has consistently taken action to ensure safety for all Texans by augmenting federal border security efforts at the Tex-Mex borders. Okay, now this clearly says the governor does not want to shoulder his part of the responsibilities in securing the border in Texas, which is hypocritical because Texas is, and always will be a state that can hold its own. We've always been able to do that. So for our current governor here at the second millennia to say that it's not our responsibility and that we're not participating is just it's just wrong. I'm trying not to curse. It's just wrong. Paragraph 2. Since 2014, Texas has spent roughly $3.5 billion to help secure the border and protect public safety. Now that right there is a roundabout open statement of admission to the corruption of handling the border. As early as, you got to read that again, as early as 2014, this guy's funded to cage migrants, leading from abuse up to sexual violations of full-grown adults all the way down to young children. And this is by the adult staff members as testified by the victims themselves. Governor Greg Abbott has made it legal for Texas Border Patrol to bully, abuse, and even sexual violate captive migrants for a living. It sounds kind of stupid, but it's true. Okay? As stated throughout the past videos, for those of you who haven't been watching, I pointed out a total of 4,500 cases that have been brought up between 2014 and 2018. That's during both Obama and Trump administration, where our governor has authorized, with our taxpaying dollars, to have holding facilities, which is caged children, caged people, separated families, and to be supervised under those who have been abusing their authority and power in there. Again, leading to assaults, even sometimes sexual violations of both grown people all the way down to young children. Okay? That's what I'm referring to when I say that. And they're doing it off of our tax-paying dollars. They're doing it for a living. Now, bear in mind, Border Patrol during that time was misleading migrants already in custody. While they were doing this, they were completely undermined by the human traffickers that were getting across right underneath their noses. The current migrant situation is proof of this. Okay? As I've stated before, and I'll do it again, you keep the Texas Border Patrol and the Texas Chase Troopers off guards around the caging migrants. You keep them from doing their jobs. You keep them on the guards of caged migrants. You keep them from doing their jobs. And again, the proof is how the migrant situation is being done today. A lot of criminals are being caught. A lot of trespassers are being apprehended. Paragraph 3. In 2021 alone, I have deployed 1,000 troops from the DPS and hundreds of troops from the TNG, which is the Texas National Guard. DPS being the Department of Public Safety, to the border. Okay, now, this stuff, that only says it took him this long to protect our borders. Okay? Okay. In 2021 alone. Okay, that's all that it says. It took him this long just to protect our borders. You know, all these people that are getting arrested right now, that are getting apprehended, they're getting busted, they're getting caught. You know, this could have been done a long time ago. Paragraph 4. When you go to this disaster, you look it up, you look up the disaster declaration, you go to paragraph 4. Amidst escalating border crossings, I directed DPS to initiate Operation Lone Star and devote additional law enforcement resources towards deterring illegal border crossings and protecting our communities. Okay, paragraph 4. Okay, Operation Lone Star is an act authorized by the Office of Governor to perform humanitarian missions as well as disaster response. Today, it's used by Abbott in its own declaration to devote additional law enforcement resources towards deterring illegals and supposedly protecting the communities. Okay, now Operation Lone Star has been around for a small while. I think it's been around here for almost 15 years now. And again, it's for humanitarian missions and occasional natural disasters response. Okay, now it's being used, according to Greg Abbott in his declaration this month. Now it's being used to devote additional law enforcement resources to deterring illegals and protecting this, blah, blah, blah. Okay, honestly, I think it looks good on paper, but honestly, I think this will result in the Governor Greg Abbott to permit attacks on the defenseless and already weakened migrants, as well as permit Abbott to pull law enforcement away from the cause And more than likely in this day and age, and you're gonna see it in further on down as I read off this declaration, because of the Biden administration. Okay, because he has this animosity towards the Biden administration. This is an abuse of power that I'm talking about, and currently it's just the tip of the iceberg. As I read on, you're going to see a lot more clues that lead to this abuse of power off of our tax-paying dollars, which leads to a very important comment, a rule of thumb that I always go by when I look at these issues. It's all about the money. Belief is the tool. It's all about the money. Belief is the tool. He's pulling resources of law enforcement to go against the cause of humanitarian purposes, humanitarian missions. That's an abuse of authority. And he's doing it with our tax-paying dollars. The money that's going into the cause. Paragraph 5. I expanded Operation Lone Star to have DPS interview unaccompanied alien children. Okay? To identify victims of human trafficking and gain actionable intelligence that will aid in the arrest of traffickers. Now this, again, looks great on paper. It looks great on paper. However, this is still yet to be seen. Okay? This is something that law enforcement should have already been doing a long time ago, with the exception of interviewing minors. Okay, no. 4,500 complaints of sexual offenses. No, absolutely not. By these guys. By state troopers, by Border Patrol, by DPS, by immigration, by ICE, Immigration Custom Enforcement. That is just a no. But as far as that whole using the information from the minors and all them, from the alien children, the migrant children, that's just BS. You know, everything that has been said about law enforcement from our own governor and everybody that follows him, is that they are overwhelmed, the law enforcement, and that the human traffickers are always getting away. That's all that Greg Abbott has been saying about these people. So for them to say that this is a good thing for them to go ahead and have access to kids, caged kids, or just detained, that's heck no. No, that's just a no. Plus an expanded OLS to have DPS interviewed unaccompanied alien children and gain actionable intelligence that will aid in the arrest of traffickers sounds like a noteworthy effort. But given the DPS is on the list of offenders, sex offenders too, just like the Border Patrol, as testified by the adult and children migrants under their captivity, it just says, I don't believe DPS. It just says to all of us out here, I don't believe in Border Patrol. It just says out here, I don't believe in this Operation Lone Star missions. And it is a very reasonable thing to consider that currently these organizations, without the supervision, are getting busted for their acts of abuse and greed. Okay? It's not just those that are law enforcement that are enforcing the law. It's the people that claim to be helping the migrants, like the National Association of Christian Churches. Now, if you've seen that in some of my other videos, you'll know that I pointed out the 6.2 million or something like that was going to shelter, and it turned out to be just this gutted warehouse that they were throwing the kids in. SOS 1, same thing. Weak sheltering. And then you have SWK Australia, which was not so much about the holding facilities. It was about doing the paperwork. They were getting paid sponsors to send children to. And some of those sponsors turns out to be part of the cartels collecting off of what was owed them in getting those children over here. They made a proposition, we'll get you your children. They sent them through here through the United States agency, SWK Australia. It's a United States requested funded agency, which turns out had corruption inside their organization, where I forgot his name, but he was sending out children to the recipients of that same underground bargain. How else was he supposed to get paid? He needed that kid, and it was of no concern to that SWK Australia worker. The SWK Australia worker was permitting it. To top it all off, he would sign one sponsorship applicant. He'd approve one sponsorship applicant, and he'd send about 10 kids to 10 different people that requested, and just not get around to reviewing, background checking, anything concerning the sponsors. He just plain approved them, and some of the paperwork he didn't approve, or rather he didn't write down his signature that approved, but he still gave a kid to that applicant anyway, without the background checks, without checking it, without even testing for COVID. The guy sent them to a person that is now make-believe. I mean, unless we could find them, they weren't even real. And this is what I'm talking about, the acts of abuse and greed. Okay, so for him to say Operation Lone Star is going to be expanded to have DPS interview unaccompanied migrant children, I'm not going to call it alien, that's BS, to gain actionable intelligence, it's just a bad thing. Governor Greg Abbott having DPS under OLS, the Operation Lone Star, and vice versa, permitting access to these migrant children, it's a bad thing. It is a very bad thing. We can't have this, especially given their track record of abuses, and even up to sexual offenses, sexual trespasses of families, adults, all the way down to little children. It's just wrong. It is a bad thing for Governor Greg Abbott to authorize this. Paragraph 6. Okay, paragraph 6, he goes into bragging rights. Okay, saying that all of this is worth it because in the fewer than 3 months since Operation Lone Star began, DPS has made over 1,300 criminal arrests, apprehended over 35,000 illegal migrants, and seized over 10,000 pounds of drugs and over 100 firearms. Okay, it goes into bragging right now. Those stats are great. Those are great stats. Good for you. Congratulations. And the only thing that I really want to see coming out of those organizations, okay, I don't want to hear them going over to a detention facility, to a holding facility, to visit little kids, regardless of whatever the attempt they think it is to law enforcement. So far, just off of DPS. Now, he claims he's reading off just DPS stats, the 1,300 criminals. I've heard there were more. I've heard there was 2,900 criminals in combination with them, the Texas State Troopers, and Border Patrol. Okay, and that was just within a few months. Okay, so for that, the stats are great. We don't really need them to do any interviewing. Okay, we don't. They're busy out there getting the job done. Okay, this is what happens when law enforcement is taken away from victimizing kids in cages and are put out on the beat. They're doing their job. It's results like that. That's the reason to demand law enforcement is taking off the children and relied on just getting them to do their jobs. That is the sole reason why. Those stats are the sole reason why we want them to stop doing what they did during the two previous administrations and to start doing what they're doing now, regardless of whoever it is that is in this administration. Okay? Administrations are irrelevant. For some oddball reason, the governor's throwing it in as if it's important. It is not important. What is important is that the job is being done through law enforcement of getting those criminals. Not going into private rooms with little children. I'm going to say it. I know I said that already. I'm going to say it again. And I'm closing off part 1 this way because there's still a lot more paragraphs to go through this declaration. And I want everybody out there to hear it. I want everybody out there to know what's going on. It is that important that we see the power that is being used and or abused and mistreated. So for right now, stay safe. Part 1 is coming up. Part 1 is done. Part 2 is coming up very shortly. I'm going to try to get all of this out today. We'll see you in a little bit. Thank you so much for your time. This is Chris with Chris's Comments, out.